Atomic Heart is often referred to as Russian Bioshock, and there are clear and stylistically distinct reasons for this classification. This Mundfish-developed title is set in an alternate history 1950s where the Soviet Union is a technologically advanced utopia, all while the game features a narrative and gameplay style reminiscent of Irrational Games' Bioshock series. In fact, there are a lot of similarities with those games. After all, Atomic Heart's story portrays fault lines and problematic facades to a supposed utopia, very much akin to Rapture or Columbia in Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite respectively, and the title mixes first-person shooter gameplay with special abilities like shields, electric shock, ice, and etc., which is all very Bioshock-esque. Yet, with that said, as a developer, Mundfish themselves do not want to be tethered to being influenced by one specific style of game, even if that game is Bioshock. Per a comment that Mundfish founder Robert Bagatuni made to WCCFTech, to be honest, I don't think this is an accurate comparison. While our game does have some parallels with such great games like Doom, Wolfenstein, and Bioshock, we wanted to construct Atomic Heart to feel unique and fresh. He then continued, if there is a need to compare, then our game, like Bioshock, surely contains a greater level of immersion, possibilities for combination of Atomic Heart weapons, and special abilities compared to some others of the genre. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, our game will leave players with completely new feelings, and they will understand that Atomic Heart stands out with a mix of intriguing stories, ruthless battles, and amazing segments with challenging puzzles. End quote. So with all that, does Atomic Heart stand up on its own merits? Is it more than just being Russian Bioshock? And to answer these questions, let me just say that Atomic Heart can go by another descriptor as well, more than just being Russian Bioshock, because if anything, Atomic Heart could also be called frustrating Bioshock. Mostly because, after playing for close to 7.5 hours, I can confidently say that the game, while having a solid core of fun first-person shooter gameplay, has a metric fuck ton of problems that would even give the mythical Florida Man a run for their money. Because if you know about the Florida Man, then you know that's fucking saying something. But regardless, Atomic Heart has numerous issues that prevent the game from being an overall enjoyable experience, including its story and main character, which are both very bad. And to explain why, let me just first sum up the plot. As stated before, Atomic Heart is set in an alternate 1950s where the Soviet Union is a near-utopic state due to its technological advances in robotic automatons and polymer, which is a goo-like substance that can grant its user with special superpowers, because the goo is magic science. But things go awry quickly when the robots go on a violent rampage, something that our lead protagonist, Major Nechayev, must put a stop to, and from there it is up to Nechayev to defeat the robots and defend the Soviet Union from an international disaster of its own creation. Atomic Heart's story does not work, mostly because its main character in Major Nechayev is annoying as shit. Throughout the game, Nechayev talks a lot, and all he does is complain, all to the point that he could probably start a successful side hustle by contributing to YouTube's growing grift economy. Cause wow, he never shuts the fuck up. And due to this, Nechayev is an overwhelmingly unlikable presence that can kill a mood faster than a loud fart during sexy time. He is just the embodiment of irritating. Additionally, the game lacks meaningful supporting characters as well. Aside from your chatty companion AI Charles, there aren't very many meaningful supporting characters, and the ones that are pretty good, like say Granny, because it's just fun to see an elderly lady fire a rocket launcher at a giant robot, don't have nearly enough screen time. There just aren't that many supporting characters to care about, and the ones that are interesting are minimized in the game's narrative. And between Nechayev's dislikable nature and the lack of quality supporting characters, Atomic Heart does not deliver a reason to get invested in its story, characters, world, or the stakes at large. Even with its extensive lore that can be found by scouring the level design, Atomic Heart never finds its narrative rhythm or gives you a reason to care. Despite Atomic Heart's title, the narrative is missing a heart. The gameplay does not fare much better. While Atomic Heart's core gameplay is solid, it features some quality FPS gunplay that is injected with some cool Bioshock-style abilities. It has a good variety of weapons and powers with their own status effects. Using your telekinetic abilities to quickly loot locations is very satisfying, and there's good customization and upgrade options and such. There are a lot of frustrating elements that detract from the overall action. The health button, which allows you to heal yourself, can be unresponsive at times, which is a problem when you're in a hectic firefight with lots of enemies. There's no flashlight, which is irritating because there are a fair few dark hallways and corridors in this title. Enemies can pin you in corners and you have no recourse but to take the punishment and die. Some of the missions revolve around doing irritating fetch quests for annoying NPCs, which honestly causes the gameplay to drag out in these instances. And then there are bigger and more open levels that highlight the game's worthless stealth system, because in theory, in these bigger levels, you can sneak around and take enemies out from behind. But this rarely works in practice because Atomic Heart is way more more optimized to be a first-person shooter action title than a stealth game, because honestly, Atomic Heart's stealth system can basically be summed up as the crouch button. Sure, the player has the ability to see through walls and can stealthily take out enemies from behind, but even with those caveats, the stealth system does not play out very well in practice. If anything, unlike other games, there aren't any hiding places or tall blades of grass that can help you hide from enemies. You just have the crouch button, and this is very much a problem, especially in Atomic Heart's larger outdoor environments, which do require stealth. After all, these bigger levels feature a multitude of enemies, security cameras, and repair robots that repair those aforementioned enemies and security cameras, because obviously. And with that, the game just requires you to be sneaky in these scenarios. Yet, as stated before, Atomic Heart is just not optimized for stealth, and when you inevitably get caught, enemies hound your position to the point that your only recourse is to run away. Yet this is also an issue, because once again, you don't have places to hide, and you can just as easily run into more enemies and security cameras that can further complicate your aspiration to escape. It can just be very frustrating at times. And between the abysmal stealth, the sometimes sluggishness of the health button, annoying quest structures, and such, Atomic Heart has a lot of issues that dilute the quality of its otherwise decent gameplay core. It has problems. Additionally, and very unforgivably, Atomic Heart's text is ludicrously small. Like when reading tutorials, subtitles from secondary characters, or weapon upgrade options, the text is borderline illegible. In fact, there's just a lot of text in this game that I couldn't read unless I got unhealthily close to my TV screen. I mean, let's be clear here. Just look at this. Look at it. It's ridiculous. Come on, devs. These subtitles don't need to be shy. It's not like they're an end-user license agreement that either obfuscate the fact that you're selling your soul in order to install Apple Music on your phone, or if putting on Santa's coat means you become Santa Claus. This is just a video game. I shouldn't have to aim a fucking telescope at my TV in order to read a tutorial or some of the text for the upgrades. The text should not be the size of the fucking quantum realm. It's an accessibility nightmare. Atomic Heart also has problems that go beyond the scope of the game itself. In fact, the title is controversial due to how it's releasing amidst Russia's invasion of Ukraine. If anything, Mundfish, i.e. Atomic Heart's developer, has a lot of ties with Russia despite how it mostly operates out of Cyprus these days, which is very problematic. After all, some of Mundfish's original founders are Russian. Russian outlets describe Mundfish as a Russian developer. The studio has Russian investors such as Gem Capital, meaning that some of the game's profits could end up in the pocket of the Russian government. It has had accusations and concerns about data collection on behalf of the Russian state, which Mundfish has denied. Atomic Heart was released near the 1-year anniversary date of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Mundfish's statement about the war in Ukraine was very broad and did not condemn Russia itself. And then there's just the subject matter of a game glorifying the Soviet Union, even though reportedly later moments in the game offer enough critique that you probably wouldn't classify Atomic Heart as propaganda per se. But still, this game about a Soviet utopia is occurring at a time when Russia is being led by a fascist dictator who is trying to justify an invasion of another country, which is just hard not to think about when playing this game. And yes, I understand that a lot of these criticisms are coming from me, i.e. an American pig dog, as well as someone who lives in a country that has committed its own imperialistic and unjustified wars in very recent history. But still, that does not make Russia's invasion okay. And for that, there are a lot of reasons that would make anyone hesitant to play Atomic Heart. Hell, many Ukrainians want Western audiences to downright boycott the game. And honestly, I wouldn't buy this game for those reasons alone. In fact, the only reason why I'm playing Atomic Heart is because it is on Game Pass. Otherwise, I would have just skipped Atomic Heart entirely. Mostly because buying the game just feels morally murky. It is problematic, to say the least. With that being said, however, I'm still glad that I played Atomic Heart. Mostly because I can confidently tell people to skip it. Like, the game is not a guilty pleasure or a game that should make you want to bend your morals. If anything, Atomic Heart is very flawed. You just don't need to play it. Whether we are discussing the bad characters, the unlikable protagonist, the ludicrously small text, the lack of a flashlight, how enemies can cheaply kill you by boxing you in a corner, the poorly optimized stealth mechanics, and etc., playing Atomic Heart just is not necessary, and that's even without putting the morality of purchasing the game into question. You can safely avoid Atomic Heart and not really miss anything meaningful, because despite having solid Bioshock-like FPS gameplay, the rest of Atomic Heart is not up to standard. It's just an annoying, frustrating, and problematic Bioshock. And with that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like rating, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment telling me what you think of Atomic Heart and its controversy. Also, please consider checking out my Patreon page. $1 a month gets you onto this credit sequence, and $5 a month allows you to make quick review requests. The link to my Patreon is in the description. And speaking of Patreon, I just want to thank my patrons, particularly my high tier ones in Samantha Devlin, Mom, and Morgan. Thank you so much for supporting what I do. Love y'all.